Did a military mistake kill our own pilots in Iraq? During the war, U.S. Patriot missiles shot down friendly aircraft. The potential danger posed by the missile has been kept under wraps by the military. But CBS 11's Robert Riggs was on the front lines in Iraq and witnessed the problem firsthand. His investigation has taken several months, and tonight, the results as we reveal now this major military flaw. Robert?
Tracy, the military calls friendly fire incidents blue on blue. And despite the Patriot fratricides, the Army continues to praise the expensive missile system's battle record as 9 for 9 in shooting down Iraqi missiles. But the Army has yet to reveal why it was 2 for 2 in killing coalition aircraft. We witnessed major problems that our own pilots were apparently never warned about. Did chronic problems with the Army's newly upgraded $3 billion Patriot missile system contribute to shooting down the only U.S. Navy pilot lost during the war in Iraq? The family of 30-year-old Lieutenant Nathan White has waited 10 months for a military investigation to explain what happened.
I know from Nathan, he emailed the family and he had talked about steering clear of the Army Patriot batteries.
Nathan White's father is a former Air Force pilot. At his home in Abilene, Texas, Dennis White wants to make sure a Patriot fratricide never happens again.
The young soldiers involved in your son's friendly fire incident do find themselves second-guessing all their actions, and some have had deep emotional problems as a result.
I wish I could talk to them. I don't know that I could put their heart at rest or at ease, but again, I know that they were doing their level best under a very, very trying condition.
Last February, our CBS 11 news crew from Dallas embedded with a Patriot missile battalion deployed to Kuwait from Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. We first witnessed problems when an employee of Raytheon, the defense contractor for the Patriot system, yelled, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." The Patriot radars were showing friendly aircraft as enemy tactical ballistic missiles, and more often creating false missile tracks. Soldiers said they had come close to shooting down a Navy F-18. John Pike of GlobalSecurity.org says complex computer systems can behave in mysterious ways.
Well, the problem was not that there was a single ghost in the machine, but that it was a haunted house. They had lots of ghosts. Every radar was reporting a separate track, and if you get enough data input, the computer is going to get awfully confused.
False missile tracks raise the level of anxiety. Echo soldiers inside this nerve center called an engagement control station would have only a few minutes, if not seconds, to shoot down Iraq's missiles.
You gotta be quick, you gotta be a fast thinker.
Soldiers and their leaders struggled with how to tell the difference between false missile tracks and the real thing. But according to this confidential lessons learned report by the Army, a Patriot unit in Jordan had experienced the problem for months prior to Operation Iraqi Freedom.
This organization has a long history of failing to fix problems, failing to acknowledge problems.
MIT science professor Ted Postal testified before Congress about problems he found with the Patriot missile's performance in the 1991 Gulf War.
Can you imagine that the Army wouldn't have told one other arm of the Army, we've got a problem here?
The fact that they know or knew that this kind of problem was going on raises questions of negligence.
Echo Battery became the first Patriot unit to invade Iraq. Despite weeks of false missile track problems, we never saw any change in the rules of engagement. The Patriots were on weapons free, meaning they didn't have to get higher approval to shoot at enemy missiles. Back in Kuwait, Army sources say another Patriot missile radar showed a British Tornado bomber as a cruise missile. Its 2-member crew was killed while returning to base on March 23rd. This wreckage marked all that was left. At Camp Doha in Kuwait, the 32nd Army Air and Missile Defense Commander, General Howard Bromberg, continued to express confidence in the Patriot.
Very, very pleased with the weapon system. It's engaging early, it's engaging on time, it's been outstanding.
3 days later, Army sources say Echo's Patriot radar showed Lieutenant White's Navy F-18 as an Iraqi missile and shot it down 7 seconds later. And another Patriot battery came close to shooting at a second Navy F-18 leading White's mission. Army sources also say the Patriot radar did not display a coded IFF signal indicating the targets were friendly.
The Army's official report about the Patriot's war record does not reveal that false missile tracks occurred hundreds of times.
To pretend that it doesn't exist, that worries me, because then I can see we're going to have some other mom and dad out there that's sitting comfortably in their home, that they don't know who they are yet, but they're going to understand exactly how we feel.
A Raytheon spokesman referred questions about the Patriot's war record to the Army. A Pentagon spokesman and an Army spokeswoman at Fort Bliss declined a request to interview commanders until the friendly fire investigations are finished. You can get more information about this story on our website at cbs11tv.com. We have a lot of stuff there.
Really important stuff, too, Robert. Thank you.
The U.S. Army shot down a British Tornado bomber after a Patriot missile radar mistakenly identified the friendly aircraft as an enemy anti-radiation missile. The Army's own investigation of the incident reveals that Patriot radars produced a confusing picture of false or spurious targets to its operators. Logs of the Patriot's air battle record that one battery fired at a target that did not exist. It states that on the third day of the war, a missile battery auto-engaged a spurious track. Missile fired before they could override. Space Command confirmed spurious.
This is inexcusable that this problem has not been fixed.
Joseph CIRINCIONE headed a congressional investigation of the Patriots' performance in the first Gulf War.
The Army continues in background briefings to tell Congress this is not a weapon system problem. This is a people problem, a training problem, a tactics problem.
There were billions of dollars on the line in overseas sales. The last thing you want to do is to tell Saudi Arabia or Taiwan or Japan that there's something wrong with the system.
Raytheon, the manufacturer of the Patriot system, referred questions to the Army. The Army did not respond to CBS 11. It has never publicly revealed that the Patriot shot at a Ghost missile that did not exist. The Army's fratricide investigation puts some blame on crew training. But when it comes to the Ghost or spurious missile tracks that made Patriot operators' already difficult jobs more difficult, the Army report cloaked the problem in secrecy.
So it seems that the Army is looking to put the blame on the incident on anything but the Patriot missile defense system itself. The technology seems to be sacrosanct, the people not so much.
A separate British investigation determined that the Tornado's crew had no way of knowing that their electronic beacon that signaled it was a friendly aircraft had quit working. Still, an AWACS aircraft tracked it as friendly. But the Patriot missile battery was not plugged into high-tech communications networks. An Army officer told investigators there was much confusion to the whole situation as communications with any higher command was poor. Both cell phones were having difficulty getting a signal. The phone was very static-ridden.
In many cases, and this Patriot example is one of them, the units are as isolated as they were in the Civil War.
Independent military analysts say the Patriot could still trigger another friendly fire. According to military sources, during training conducted in Yuma, Arizona last April, the Patriot radar continued to produce false targets in exercises against Marine aircraft.
Until the Army comes clean and jointly fixes its problem with the Navy and Air Force that fly over the Patriots, CIRINCIONE says there could be another friendly fire.
Soldiers and sailors and airmen may die because we refuse to address the problems we know exist in the Patriot.
Robert Rigg, CBS 11 News at the Pentagon.
Father of a Navy pilot from West Texas is calling tonight for a congressional investigation into the death of his son. Lieutenant Nathan White was himself the father of 3. He was killed on a mission over Iraq nearly 2 years ago. and he was brought down by U.S. Army missiles. CBS 11's Robert Riggs continues his investigation tonight into what went so terribly wrong and what the Army is not telling us.
All right, guys.
Lieutenant Nathan White's last radio call over Iraq was, "They're tracking me." White was cut off in mid-sentence when American missiles blew his Navy F-18 in half. The pilot's father waited for 20 months to learn how his son was killed by U.S. Army Patriot missiles.
It's not safe, and the Army knows it's not safe.
Dennis White, a former Air Force pilot, finally received a briefing from the Army at his home in Abilene. White now believes the investigation was kept under wraps for so long to protect the reputation of the $6 billion weapons system during sales marketing to foreign governments.
There are large Patriot sales, a lot of money to be made, and sometimes bad news doesn't help. Now that's my feeling. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. They haven't convinced me that it's not true.
The friendly fire investigation concluded that Lieutenant White's aircraft was mistakenly identified and depicted on Patriot radar screens as an inbound Iraqi tactical ballistic missile. Patriot operators had been warned that a chemical missile attack was imminent and had only a few seconds to react. The report says the shoot-down was preventable and would not have occurred but for human error and an institutional failure through training and doctrine. White says the investigation made low-ranking soldiers scapegoats.
Those poor soldiers, they were the last ones that could have saved Nathan.
The Patriots operators had been trained to believe that the computer could never be wrong. CBS 11's embedded news team witnessed software bugs that repeatedly created false enemy missile targets on the Patriots' radar weeks before the war began. In the 4 hours after shooting down Lieutenant White, 7 more false missile targets appeared on the Patriots' radar screen.
The Army claims that the technical failures that led to the death of Nathan White as well as 2 British aviators is a secret. So it has blacked out page after page of the report that might tell the public something more about the software bugs.
The investigation also does not address why the Army did not warn Navy and Air Force flyers that they could be mistaken for enemy missiles.
That is a major problem that I have, and it almost borders on criminal as far as I'm concerned.
White hopes that congressional investigators will get to the bottom of the Patriots' problems to prevent another friendly fire.
Nathan, in this experience, he can leave a legacy that will maybe save airmen in the future and save some parents from having to go through what we have. It's not easy.
Robert Riggs, CBS 11 News in Abilene.
We have new details tonight about a tragic friendly fire incident early in the Iraq War. A U.S. Navy pilot was killed when his fighter jet was shot down by an American missile. Now, as CBS's David Martin reports, the pilot's family has just been told how it happened, what went so terribly wrong.
In his last email home, Navy Lieutenant Nathan White made clear one of the biggest hazards he faced in flying nighttime strikes over Iraq was not enemy fire, but friendly fire.
He emailed the family, and he had talked about steering clear of the Army Patriot batteries.
The Patriot was supposed to shoot down incoming enemy missiles. But shortly after he sent that email, White was killed when his F-18 was hit by 2 Patriot missiles as he returned from a mission over Iraq.
Today, White's father was finally given the results of the investigation into his son's death. A combination of technical and human errors all happening in less than a minute.
2 missile batteries detected White's plane, but the Patriot computer mistakenly identified it as an incoming Iraqi missile, even though his F-18 was flying at 500 miles per hour, a fraction of the speed at which missiles travel. The Patriot's launch center cleared the batteries to fire without first putting the radar cursor on the target, a simple procedure that would have revealed the plane's relatively low speed and identified it as friendly. A procedure that had been put in place after a Patriot shot down a British jet, killing both crew members. Robert Riggs, a reporter for Dallas station KTVT who was embedded with the Patriot batteries, says the $6 billion system was plagued by malfunctions.
This was like a
bad science fiction movie in which the computer starts creating false targets, and you have the operators of the system wondering, is this a figment of the computer's imagination or is this real?
But the general in charge assured Briggs the Patriot was performing well.
Very, very pleased with the weapon system. It's engaging early, it's engaging on time.
The Army says the Patriot had a perfect 9-for-9 record in shooting down Iraqi missiles and undoubtedly saved many lives. But it also had a perfect record whenever it fired on a friendly aircraft. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.